testing. What up, family, friends, faithful followers? This is Seeming Fanatic and other things. Finally bringing you the Q&A video I talked about a while ago. You may remember in the past I wanted to make such video, but because I, at the moment, didn't have the means to do so, I had to scrap such concept. But now that I'm able to start live streaming, I can finally make those Q&A videos again. So, as you know, this is officially the return of the Q&A concept that I've talked about in the past. Some other announcements I want to make. The Monte Carlo catalog will be coming. I do not know when I'm going to make that, but I have intentions to make the catalog video for that. But other than that, other plot lines are hush-hush for the moment. Hello. Anyway, all other catalog plot lines are hush-hush for the moment, because I want to keep that aside and surprise until I can get another catalog video done. So pretty much, one will be unveiled after the other one I announce is made. So that's pretty much the whole gist. Alright. If anybody has any questions, because this is a Q&A video, I am ready to start answering. So, when you're ready, let's get to work. So, and yes, I said this already, but hello, Carter. Oh yeah, I would like to apologize in advance that I had to reschedule this live session. I was going to have this set at 12 p.m., but with complications, family complications, I did have to push it back. Okay, here we go. We got our first question coming up. What is it you want to know, Carter? Anytime you're ready. I must admit, he's probably writing a long, it's probably long if it's taking this while. But otherwise, though, I am ready when you are, Carter. Where was I? That is a complicated story. It's usually one mug a morning. I'd have to say I mostly played some Mario. Oh, I usually played the Mario franchise in my childhood. I remember the earliest console I ever used was a Wii. Nintendo Wii, yes. I wouldn't actually get a hands on Nintendo DS or dual screen until I was like 5. So, I was hoping others would show up, but I suppose we can make do with what we got for right now. Maybe others will show up a little later. So I think we're ready for our next question. If that is, anybody else has any other questions? As I was apologizing on, I know it was red. Red is the favorite color. You can't argue with it. It's very popular among ceiling fans. Anywho, oh yeah, I was apologizing in advance for the sudden reschedule. I was going to have this set for 12 p.m. to air, but due to complications, I had to reschedule to an hour later. So I apologize for that. I know I was saying to have it at 12 p.m., but like I just said just now, due to complications, I had to reschedule this. Oh, I'm feeling so uncomfortable. You might see me move around a few times because I'm trying to keep myself comfortable and not trying to wear out my body, so you might see me move around a little bit to try to keep myself comfortable and be able to read your guys' comments at the same time. I think we're ready for our next question. Anyone else have anything they want to know? As much as I want to say we do have plenty of time to kill, although it does seem like we have plenty of time to kill, this life thing can only be so long, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. It doesn't seem like we have any other questions, so I guess I probably should have renamed this the chill one too. So, I guess I can make a couple of other announcements. I'm having some plans with starting another. Oh, anyway, I had some plans with starting another YouTube channel. But the theme of that other YouTube channel is hush hush for the moment. One reason in particular being for copyright reasons. Huh. Is that supposed to say we or EII? I'm not too sure. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah. Uh, as I said, the Wii's also. The earliest I also remember back is the original Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. And the original Xbox itself. Those were the days back then. I mean, I just wish we could bring all this stuff back, to be honest. I mean, sometimes we wonder why did they have to go? Anyone else have anything they want to know? So, what was I mentioning for the time being? Yeah. I was mentioning I had plans to make a second YouTube channel, but one reason being for concern of copyright reasons. The second thing is hush hush for the moment. Alright, let's see here. School must be very. My school actually did have some gaming programs I never actually got involved in. I never really had a reason to get involved with the gaming clubs. But then again, I've also seen some schools that actually will do arcade things, but I think that is mostly the how do we put this? Like the clubs, like the Boys and Girls Club and things like that. I think that's mostly that sort of thing that would do arcade things like that. An interesting fact, I did used to go to the Boys and Girls Club when I was younger, but it didn't end up lasting. I mean, that's not necessary to make a video. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You don't have to do that. But it is nice to know. Anywho, as I was saying, the interesting thing, I used to go to the Boys and Girls Club. Later on, I did eventually go to this strange program called Teen Center, which was, as you would have to guess, a program that worked with the Boys and Girls Club, specifically for teenagers specifically. I don't think if I ever went back, they would allow me in anymore at my age, because specifically it's for teenagers who were not 18. And I actually remember the Wii U too. That was like the big thing, even though people thought it actually failed. I don't get why many people considered it a failure. Or I personally thought it was successful. Anywho, aside that, I was saying I don't think the teen center I used to go to would allow me in anymore because of my age. They were strictly for teenagers. Like, even if you were 18, you would still have to be in school to be able to attend. Probably get a job there. Maybe I could probably pick up on a job, but aside that, I don't think they would actually let me participate with the games and everything. But then again, that's maybe that's probably also the job to entertain the members around. So, I'm usually good with entertaining, and as you know, I'm already with the entertainment now with the whole YouTube channel thing, so. Ah. Ah. I see. Anywho. So, I'm running out of things to say. Hey, for this. Oh, yeah. Something else I should address in the room. Some. As much as it is, as much as a good job as it probably is, it is very far away, unfortunately. So I would not be able to get a job there even if I wanted to. It is very, very far away. Anywho, something else I want to bring up. The Dr. Pepper review stuff. You're right, I haven't been doing that very often, and I really, really want to get back to making those videos. I have to say, I do not personally have a favorite ceiling fan brand, but one thing I cannot argue with is Hunter's quality. That is one thing I cannot argue with, because everybody seems to talk about it so much. Yeah, if only it wasn't so far away. Yeah, that's what everybody says. I mean, I had intentions to start a ceiling fan company on my own, and I actually, once I do that, I do have plans to try to bring back everything they once made. It's not going to start out so easy because I have to raise all the funds if I'm going to do that, which might require some college courses. And to be completely honest, I don't even know if I want to go to college just yet. But everyone has to start somewhere. So, at least my current job right now, I could probably try to do something, but those things just take time. Those things just take time. Kinda. I kinda know the history. So, kind of a history on Chuck E. Cheese. Nolan Bushnell, co-founder of Atari, he founded Chuck E. Cheese, though he actually was supposed to create a coyote-themed restaurant until he went to the IAAPA Expo, I think it was called, where he actually found what he thought was a generic coyote costume. But when he ordered it, it turned out to be a rat, which the rat became an unofficial mascot for Atari. But then, once he found out it was supposed to be a rat, the restaurant was then eventually going to be called Rick Rat's Pizza. But then in the end, they all dropped it because it was deemed not to be kid friendly. But we all know what they ended up going with anyway. And no, Chucky is not a rat, he is a mouse. Just because the costume was a rat does not mean Chucky himself is a rat. He is a mouse. In the 80s, they had a little bit of a small struggle with competition because there appeared another restaurant trying to compete with Chuck E. Cheese called Showbiz Pizza. Chuck E. Cheese tried to file a lawsuit, but in the process, Chuck E. Cheese ended up filing bankruptcy and then eventually being bought out by Showbiz. But then, they remained independent restaurants for the first few years, growing to the 80s and 90s, until everything started being branded as Chuck E. Cheese. The Showbiz Pizza was starting to fade off. But then in 1998, they changed their corporate name from Showbiz Pizza to CEC Entertainment. And an interesting fact is that during this time, there were actually supposed to be some Fanimation ceiling fans installed in Chuck E. Cheese. But because in 1998 of the bankruptcy and everything, that whole idea was dropped. And we haven't seen it since. It does make me a little disappointed. I wish I could have seen ceiling fans at Chuck E. Cheese. That would have been nice, but life is life. But if I had my way, I'd probably install some Hampton Bay carousels, Beverly Hills, California surfers, pretty much the whole entire rainbow ceiling fan community, ya name it. And yes, even the black light reflective ones. Oh yeah, some of you may remember in the past, I have spoken about some Hampton Bay carousels in a nearby area. I'm still not sure if and when I'll be able to film them. But I'm doing my best with everything I can that is in my ability. So, you'll have to give me some time. But otherwise, though, I am trying to keep up with the content because despite my hiatus, I am back, so I'm trying to make as much content as possible even after the hiatus. And yeah, I apologize about that whole hiatus thing for 2023. That was out of my control. I could not do anything about that. That was really out of my control. Right. Anybody else want to know anything? I'm not sure what else people would want to know about that whole Chuck E. Cheese thing as requested, but one thing I can say is that Chuck E. Cheese is still in business, and it's been recently said that they are trying to open in Australia, so we got that. So, yeah. A Chuck E. Cheese nearby me has not removed any animatronics yet, so I don't think they'd want to do that. It's a very small location. I want to bring up a reference to a show I used to watch, but I'm not. It's probably a little for religious reasons that I don't really want to bring this up, but the incident is very similar to something that I've seen. And plus, it would also spoil the whole second YouTube channel thing that I want to do. Anyone else want to know Anything? I'm really beginning to run out of some Chuck E. Cheese facts. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that if Joe the Great is still here. I'm beginning to run out of... if you... Probably blue. Probably blue. I know. People would probably hate me for that. Blue cheese. It just goes well with buffalo. Oh, I mean, think about it. I've had a blue cheeseburger before. It's really delightful, really. However, of course, we're going back to that meme. Emotional damage. Anyway, back on to the cheese subject. I actually read in that there's one cheese that actually was banned from international travel because of its stench. I do not remember at the moment what its name is, but I think it originated in France. And as a result, because of its stench, it was banned from international travel. So if you ever go to France, you'll probably have the best luck finding it there. That's all I read in on that. I feel sorry for those who probably had that kind of cheese. They probably had to be brushing for months, maybe. They probably had to be brushing for months just to get the stench to... That's just a thought. I mean, as much as I'm curious to what it tastes like, I'm not too sure if that's something I want to know, unless I am ready to start brushing for months. I'm probably just exaggerating. Maybe they didn't have to brush it for months, but for a while, though, they probably would have to. Something else interesting I found. I mentioned this in the past. I don't remember hearing that quote in Roblox. Kind of like papaya. Papaya is a lot better than it smells. And you do seem pretty accurate that cheese is a lot better than it smells sometimes. Well, I was kind of thinking when I was going with my ceiling fan company, maybe perhaps make a scented ceiling fan that circulates Dr. Pepper smell around. It will probably keep the room fresh. I should probably consider her Febreze smelling as well, so that way it can keep the room smelling fresh, and so that way there's not a stench going around if something like that was to happen. I mean, they've already made air purifier ceiling fans, so well, why not that? Not at night. I'm not really a fan of lightning storms at night because the lightning is so bright, it's hard to sleep. It's not about the sound or anything. I'm not scared of it. It's just very difficult to sleep because I can see it even when my eyes are closed. I don't know about that. Hampton Bay made a ceiling? Harbor Breeze or Hampton Bay? I'm actually curious now, because I want to know who did that. I don't want to be ripping off anybody with such a plan. Well, I mean, Chick-fil-A does make the greatest sweet tea you've ever tasted, so... Ah, I see. Which Hampton Bay made that thing? On the sweet tea subject, I'd say Chick-fil-A does make the best sweet tea. I'm not gonna argue or lie with that. But Chick-fil-A has made the best sweet tea I've ever tasted. So, whenever I got a chance, back when I was young, I would get my hands on such thing. It's very, very sweet. I personally prefer any sweet drinks, which is mostly why you see me drink Dr. Pepper often. Or if you would see me put creamer in my coffee often. I prefer my coffee specifically sweet. That's it. I don't care how you do it, just do it. Here's another interesting fact, actually. You can put eggnog in coffee, and it'll do the job that creamer does. Not that anybody would probably want to. So, what's the name of the Hampton Bay model? What's the name of the Hampton Bay model that made the whole scented ceiling fan? Because that's probably something I probably want to look into. As I said in the past, I was going to mention something that I learned in the past, but didn't quite just yet. Oh, hold on. Air filtering. Yes, actually, that's where the teen center was. I've been to the Middle East for personal reasons, but briefly, I did go to Bulgaria, but that was a happy accident. But the reason I was also there was personal. So, yeah, I've generally been to other countries, yes. But aside, I haven't moved around a lot, like country to country. I've only moved around really like house to house. So, pretty much that in a nutshell. But I have seen some international ceiling fans. Like, I've seen some Hunter Marbles at a entrance, and I'm not sure what else I've seen. Like, weird international brands like Fengda. Apparently, I'm told that you can get a 220 to 240 volt ceiling fan to work in the United States. Internationally, ceiling fans are 220 to 240 volts. This excludes ceiling fan models down in Canada, US, and Mexico. That one is most likely 220, 240 volts if it's sold there. But I believe the Hunter Savoy, the Vista, the Bayport, all those models are manufactured by, or at least distributed by Usha down in those countries. Because where I was, I've heard of Usha, and Usha Fan Company has distributed for Hunter, and so that's how I know the Vista, Savoy, Bayport, models like that are still sold down there. Mind that. Though I've also seen some Hunter originals in my time. One I remember seeing a long time ago in a TGI Fridays restaurant. Sadly, though, according to what inside sources tell me, that restaurant has since been demolished and replaced with a Raising Cane. The second Hunter original I remember seeing is actually at an arcade nearby from me, and you might remember I filmed that one. I do not know if it's still there. I haven't been there since. But it'd be nice to go back, though. It'd be nice to go back and see if it's still there. But otherwise, I am also told that Hunter originals are very, very heavy, especially because of the fact they are cast iron motors. And so, if I'm ever starting to collect, I probably will want to be careful if trying to move around a Hunter original. Those things sound very heavy. And as I say, it's also a reason why not a lot of them are ball mounted. Instead, had J-hook, or what I used to call grappling hook mounted. And that's why they're still J-hook mounted. Although there are some exceptions, and there are some Hunter originals that can be ball mounted. But most of the time, the Hunter originals are either J-hook or swivel. Well, the swivel is designed for angle mounting, as far as I'm aware anyway. So with that said, it would be interesting for me to see an angle mount original, which I have not yet seen. We have not yet seen, but would be interesting. Hold on a minute. Oh. Anywho, in question, the original is pretty much one of Hunter's most best-selling fans today. If you'll excuse me for a minute, I'll be right back. I have to grab something real quick. I'll be right back. I'm back. Sorry about the sudden notice. I had to grab a charger because my phone is running low, so I had to plug this in. But I'm still able to answer those questions. I had to make it quick. I didn't want to just abruptly leave everybody. Alright. Let's get this guy in here. Anyone else have anything they want to know while I'm trying to... So, as I was mentioning earlier, the Hunter original, despite being very powerful, can also be very heavy, so I'm guessing we all gotta learn this at one point. We gotta be careful. probably find somewhere to install it. That's probably with any ceiling fan. If I had to deliver for free, if I had my own place, I'd probably find somewhere to put it. But if it's not something of my interest, probably part it out with someone who could be looking for things like that. One Westinghouse model that I'm not sure how many you've forgotten. I'm not sure if it's even forgotten at all. There's something called the Instalock, which was sold at Menards for a time. I actually saw a Menards commercial recently featuring such model. It was a vintage commercial, so it's not a most recent. Interestingly, I've never been to a Menards. I almost got that opportunity, almost, but it never happened. So, as of now, I've never really been to a Menards. But like I said, I almost got that opportunity. Maybe, preferably, I want to purchase an Instalock. Preferably, maybe. Anything else anybody wants to know? Something else I think we probably all know, the Westinghouse in particular is sold manufactured internationally, so that's another thing. That's everything I can think of for Westinghouse. I don't know what else to say. I'm beginning to run out of ideas. Does anyone have any other questions they might want to input or contribute? Oh, Westinghouse has made ceiling fans for such a long time. Only one popular model in their early days was something called the Sidewinder. Encon ceiling Westinghouse ceiling fans were originally manufactured by a brand named Encon. So back then they were known as Encon, but in the 2000s, Encon sold their line for some reason to Westinghouse, so pretty much Encon ceiling fans would be known as Westinghouse to this day. So Westinghouse went on to continue the line of Encon for the rest of the time. So that is a tough question. I don't know. That is a tough question. I don't know if I would rather always be poor or never be able to walk. I really don't know if that's any I want to do. But oh yes, much like Westinghouse, Encon ceiling fans were also sold in Menards for a time. Oh, I remember a lot of them. That would take very, very long to list. Very, very long to list. But I suppose I could try to make it as brief as possible. Okay, let me see. It's a Galleria model, I remember. I don't think it really had a model name. The No, not the Alberta. I don't think Galleria really labeled their models very much. There's Hunter Stratford 2, I remember that one. The Augusta, the what else? What else Hunter would remember? While I try to remember, I can move on to remembering the Hampton Bay Rockport, the Huntington, all three generations, or actually, I'm not too sure about all three generations. Uh, the times I saw Hunter originals were very separately. Anyway, remembering back, the Hunter original was the TGI Fridays Hunter original I mentioned in the past was actually a childhood one. So let me think about this. I do remember Walmart had displays. Like, I remember back when Walmart had displays and utilized ceiling fans throughout. Personally, that would be the case. Maybe, maybe perhaps the vintage ones. It is in fact noted that 80% of households actually use ceiling fans, so if it increases, you probably might want to make sure the vintage ones increases. I think I might have seen a few of his videos. Anywho, other models I remember seeing from my childhood were Huntington 2, 3, I've mentioned that already. Let's see. I see. As I mentioned already, I remember seeing the Walmart displays. What else can I think of? The Harbor Breeze Cambridge was one of them. That I can say for sure. Pretty much an older Harbor Breeze display. I think I did see the Key West, the Harbor Breeze Key West at some point. The Hunter Sona, that one for some reason did not last. I do not know how long that Sona lasted for, but there existed a brushed nickel Sona in Canada, except that one was known as the Transitions. Let me see, what else? What else could I remember? Remember the Hampton Bay Chatham. The Landmark was a common thing for me. I've seen a Landmark left and right. Oh, the Hunter Lancaster. The early models. The Hunter Lancaster I remember seeing. At first, I actually. Um. Let's see. Probably a Bright Brass original, maybe, because I kind of wanna test out to see if I can switch out the switch housings. That's of my curiosity. The Cheshire is another one, actually, yes, and the Charleston, but that one happened until I was like 11 or 12. Oh. Anywho, the 42-inch gazebos was another one. Oh, yes, that was my first catalog video. I don't know when I'm going to make the Monte Carlo catalog video, but I'm planning to still. That is still a plan. Let me see. Let me think about this. Other models I remember. I do want to get to date. I do want to get up to date with the catalogs, yes, but I don't know when that'll happen. But I already have a lot of catalogs enough as it is, so I'm gonna have to demonstrate those first before well, not demonstrate, but I'm gonna have to showcase those ones first before anything else happens. I used to have a 2014 catalog, but then by 2015, 2016 or so, that started to fall apart, and then I lost it. The first catalog I ever owned was a Lamps Plus catalog, but I never knew what happened to that thing, so that is that. The Hunter Dimensions was another childhood thing for me, because there was a tire store called American Tire Depot, and most of those things did have hunter dimensions. Most of them. Hmm. Maybe a Casablanca Saturn? Hmm. Hmm. Anywho, what else what I was gonna say? Hmm. Let me think about this. The As I was saying, the Hunter Lancasters, the Sam's Club models were ones I remember. I'm not sure if I had. I'll probably have to look into that a little later. Anyways, the Lancasters was something I remember from my childhood. At first, I actually thought they were Westburys, but I looked into some archives recently, and it turns out they were not what I thought they were. And they turned out to be something far more rare. Here's an interesting fact about the early Hunter Lancasters, actually. The early Lancasters were actually Sam's Club specials, except they only came in two finishes, antique brass and the brass and white combo, so that's pretty much that in a nutshell. Let me see, what else? I do remember some early Littletons I've seen in the past. That's, let me see, what else can I think of? Hmm. I remember... Hmm. I remember... I'm trying to think hard for these memories. I remember seeing a lot of G events in my time. Remember? What else could I remember? Some Lakeside too. I don't remember if I ever saw a Vista or one. The Minuet 2 was another one. Now I'm starting to get headed to that. Uh, like text close-ups, I remember seeing as well. The Hampton Bay Northport 3 was another one. Harbor Reefs Bella Vista. Uh, SMC Emperor. Big Lots actually sold ceiling fans for a time, so I remember those ones too. But for some reason, they are apparently extinct. And they have not been seen for a while, so I wouldn't know what to say about that. What else could I remember? Hmm. Hmm. Let me think about this. What else do I remember seeing? Carousel 2s, I actually was going to mention that a little while ago. Westinghouse Newton, or Newtown, actually. That is something I do remember seeing. Jeez, there are too many to remember. Too many to remember. It's hard to keep track of all of them. Um, I believe so. I believe that has happened to me, yes. But I don't think it was for any bad reason. Oh, I remember now. I saw some Red ceiling fans at Modern Fanco Industries of Red Robin in my early days. I've seen Casablanca Lanais, aka Capistranos. I'm not sure which was. I'm not sure if they were one or the other, but I've always called them Lanais because, well, the Capistrano and Lanai are really the same thing. So, let me see. I remember seeing Cheshire 2s, some, um, hmm. Like I said, it's very hard to keep track, so I can't exactly say I remember all of them. Let me think about this. I think. Oh! Hampton Bay Havanas. Yeah, that's something I remember. Like I said, it would probably take a while to list because I know so many of them I remember seeing in my time. It's very hard to list all of them. One of the early Rockports, though, is what I meant when I might have said Rockport. I've seen the Hugger Rockport, so that's the childhood one I remember. Let me see. Do I remember any others? A silent ice. Come on, think. I remember a lot of generic huggers too, so I remember a custom Superman Harbor Breeze Armitage 2 I was given for my birthday. We later had it installed, but we left it behind, so I haven't seen it in years. Probably a Quorum Capri. They might still be manufactured in the bright brass. I personally, or polished brass. I'm sorry, I mix Hunter's bright brass with the polished brass. Anywho, it's a wonder if the polished brass Capri might still be manufactured with the 4-alike kit. That's something I've always found interesting. I've always had a attraction for ceiling fans with a 4-light 5-blade. I honestly don't know. I don't know why. Oh, dang it. I was remembering one of the models I've seen as a child, but it just left. Ah, the Carriage House 2 was one of them. Oh, a Harbor Breeze Quimby. I do remember seeing that. I've seen a lot of builders' bests in my day. I've seen some craftmates here and there. What else? What else could I remember? I think I might have seen a couple of breezeways and an infinity at one point in time. The Augusta, however, I've seen either twice, or I'm not sure how often that thing was. I'm not sure how often the Augusta was. But, let me see what else. What else? Like I said, it would take a very, very long time to list because I already know too many. Too many I've seen as a child. Let's see. The Minuet 3 is another one I remember seeing, but jeez, I can't think of any others. And especially on account I know too many already. As I was saying, I've seen a couple of breezeways and an infinity. No, and I never want to. Although, I remember when I was a lad, I did pull on a pull chain to a Huntington 3, but it never went back up, so I did get concerned if the pull chain got stuck or if it actually broke. Oh, so that's what got me concerned. I was getting a little worried. And so, but other than that, I don't destroy ceiling fans and I never want to. That's just really wrong. It's just really wrong. Cheap or not, you can't just You shouldn't really just destroy them like that. That's just not right. It's just not worth the risk. Someone could get seriously hurt. Physically. Let me see. Is there anything else you want to know? Because it could probably be just me for a while trying to remember every childhood ceiling fan I've possibly seen. But in the meantime, I can list these ones. Reddington 2, polished brass. I remember seeing Reddington 4, white. Envirofan Industrials, known in Canada as Banville. And SMC KW36. I don't think that went very well. I don't think that went very well with everyone. Anyway, Banville Industrials, I remember. SMC KW36. A lot of various huggers, I remember. It's a lot to think about sometimes. It's just what I remember. Middleton's. I don't know if I actually seen an Harbor's Asheville or whatnot. Let me think about this. Some other childhood models. I don't think I ever actually saw a Coastal Breeze. So I can't really say yes to that one. Let me think about this. The Lyndhurst I remember vaguely. Let me think about something. The Havana I remember. I might have already mentioned that one. The Palm Beach. Maybe the Sea Air, actually. Maybe the Hunter Sea Air I've seen as well. Maybe the Maribel as well. Like, maybe I did see the Maribel for a time in the US. Come to think about it, I don't even know if the Maribel was a US or international model specific. For context, the Maribel is kind of like the Sea Air, except it is not as, like, instead of having these little vent things on the side, it's actually clamped up. So, and the Maribel is also Dominion bracket, if you ever seen Hunter Dominion. So, that's pretty much that. What else? Not exactly. Though I've had concerns with copyright infringement, so if I notice is that, I'll probably either mute the audio or take the video down before anything can possibly happen, because I want to try to be as careful as possible. but I don't think I've really ever had videos taken before. Excuse me. Forgive me. No, but that's something I probably want to do. I mean, I've assembled and wired a ceiling fan, but mounted, not really just yet. But repairing ceiling fans I can verbally do, but not physically had to repair one just yet. So, that's pretty much the whole idea. Funny thing about that, actually, I was featured in a public television thing for about 15 minutes, in which involved a ceiling fan I've assembled and wired, but that's the part where I didn't mount it. Assemble and wire I did, but they mounted it themselves for safety reasons. So we have that. The public television thing is no longer being aired because they had to make way for some new school stuff, but the thing is still accessible today on YouTube, which is where we are now because I am currently live. Get it? What else could I remember? I remember my models. I remember. Dang it. The 42-inch Cameron 2, I do remember. The Cobalt Blue model specifically. As I said, it really would be just a while because I remember so much it's hard to keep track of all of them. A Princeton, I remember. Aloha Breeze dual mounts. The White Star, Walmart Impressions. I could think of others. The Harper Breeze New Haven, I think it's called. But that's a hugger model. Well, the New Haven. That's actually something I remember. Why can't I think of anything else? Emerson Builder models. Those were IHOP usually. That I actually remember. When IHOP had their ceiling fans. Which I believe they still do. Though I'm not exactly too sure. Else. Come on, that can't be all of it. Jeez. I really think that roughly sums it up. What I remember? But that can be inferred. Very much inferred. Actually, that really can be inferred because I think I do remember Hampton Bay, Antiguas. I actually do remember that. What else? What else can I remember? Jeez. That's all I can really think of. I can't really think of anything else. The Springfields, I might have seen for a time. Though possible I may have mistaken one of them for a time for, Jeez. I don't even know if I've mistaken one for anything. The cholera, I don't think I've experienced that much. What else can I remember? Actually, come to think of it, the gazebos and builders best together, I remember seeing at a shoe store. That shoe store is no longer, and it is now an antique store. Mink Air Rainmans, I remember. The Harper Breeze Twin Breeze, I also remember. I don't remember what else I could have seen. Some things I've seen variously here and there. I try to remember all of it, but it can be hard to sometimes. But I think at this point that might sum up all the vintage stuff I've seen. I can't personally think of a Do It Best display I once saw. Back when Do It Best actually did displays. Oh yeah, the Hampton Bay San Marino was another one. This really is just going on for a while. Well, are there any other questions? This live stream is pretty much turned into something that it's pretty much turned into Remembering Fest instead of Q&A test or Q&A session. I wanted this to be a Q&A session, but anything else you want to know? I guess that probably wraps things up then. Well, for those who are still watching, thank you everybody for joining me. And oh, someone's back. I guess we have time for a few more questions. Anybody else want to know anything? I actually don't know. There are too many options that I enjoyed that I've experienced as a child. I'm not sure which one specifically I'd want to move to. There are just too many options I've enjoyed as a child. So, to tell the truth, I honestly don't know. Honestly don't know where I would want to move to if I wanted to go to another state. I could either go back to my home, or I don't know where I'd want to go. There's just too many enjoyable places I've been to. What's next? We seem to be out of questions, I see. Well then, I'd have to say, for those who are watching, thank you for joining, and I will be wrapping this up, and I just want everyone to know that they are thanked very much for coming to my first attempt at a live stream. And it's not easy to just sit in one position, but that's just something we all gotta live with. And I want to thank you all for coming, those who are still watching. I want to thank you all for being supportive, and hopefully I can do more live streams in the future. I'm glad this didn't turn out bad. Hopefully this is something I can do more often. I'll probably have some more co-stars, hopefully. Once I work out the kinks, I might have some co-stars. So if anybody wanted to co-star on my YouTube channel, do reach out to me via comments, or if you have me on any messaging system, reach out to me there too if you want to co-star and we can work things out. Otherwise, like, subscribe, click the bell to stay notified, and remember, life has no limits, so do something new today. Thank you for coming, everybody. I will see you soon.